All right, well, here we are with an update on the Project Sedona, which is the Red WRX. I was waiting for a few parts to get in, and those are all here now. So it's sort of time to start getting back to reassembly. So a couple things have been completed. A lot of the rear suspension stuff is now done. I rebuilt the rear hubs, took them apart and replaced the bearings. I also sandblasted them and coated them with an enamel rust prevention paint. Some new control arms. So the new, these links here are new, and these are ones that are adjustable on both sides, which is nice because it allows you to adjust both the toe of the rear and the camber of the rear pretty easily. I also have a replacement trailing arm. And this isn't really necessary. You can adjust the length of this. There isn't, the only reason why you'd ever need to adjust the length of the trailing arm is if you either raise the car a ton, like off-roading, because of, as you raise the car, this whole arm is wheel's gonna kind of pivot down, and so it'll be off-center. And so you can then lengthen this, or if you lower the car a tremendous amount where the wheel was way up inside of there, you have the reverse problem, and a little shorter bar would be helpful. But I went in and replaced it because it has a better spherical bearing up here. And all of these are kind of made to swing in a little bit. And in some cases, the limitation on the width of a wheel you could put on is the wheel will hit this. The stock bar is straight. And this gives you a little bit more clearance, which makes it a little easier to put on a bigger wheel and tire combination. I also put in new longer ARP studs. And the teen coilovers are also installed there. And so that's done on both sides. I did remove the axles, which were super rusty. I think the other ones are down here. And it was quite interesting. You couldn't even see the green on the axle in housings at all. Was coated in rust. So I got them all cleaned up, a little bit of rubber protection on the boots there, and they're actually in pretty good condition. I mean, they only have 40,000 miles on them, so it's not surprising with a little bit of cleanup. They look pretty good. And then over here on the front of the car, let's see here. So I did do the timing belt, and I'll do a separate video. I recorded the timing belt replacement procedure, so I'll make a separate video about that in particular. But new timing belt, new water pump. I also replaced the oil pump, which wasn't really necessary. I just had another new in-box one, so I went ahead and replaced that. Obviously, new belt, new pulleys. That's all set up and timed correctly. So as soon as we get everything else back together, the engine should be good to go. On the front, so I put on these replacement front control arms. These are the aluminum ones from the STI. That's in contrast to, let's see, where are the steel ones at? There we are. Those are the steel ones right there, the original ones. And so, new aluminum control arms. I also put on taller, it came with the lower ball joint, but I replaced it with a taller ball joint. This is a little thicker here. And the tie rod ends are also taller. And that's just because if you lower the car, then the control arm starts up a little bit higher. And that has an interesting impact because the control arm, as it crosses over from below horizontal to above horizontal, it changes the camber curve, which is the amount of additional camber as the suspension compresses. And so if you add a little bit of height here, it'll push the control arm back down a little bit closer to what it was factory, which prevents the wheel from getting a lot of negative camber very quickly when it's first compressing. Keep in mind, if you lower the car a lot, this won't be enough of a difference. But for the kind of lowering I'm gonna do, this kind of helps offset that change in geometry a little bit. There also is what's used to be called the anti-lift kit, which is this bracket here that literally just takes the entire control arm and just tilts it down a little bit. And that means the entire axis of this frame here goes back a little bit, which gives you a little bit of negative caster. And the negative caster is something that you always want a little bit of negative caster, and the negative caster is what makes the wheel want to return to going straight. So if you're on a corner and you kind of let go of the wheel, it tends to return to straight. And the negative caster forces that a little bit, and it's especially true because if you're like under heavy braking and the car leans forward, it may toe out a little bit, and the caster helps control that, and particularly makes it not want to dart around. There aren't very many cases where you ever want positive caster. There are some racing karts where they do positive caster, and it's a little twitchy, a little scary, because as you enter a corner, the wheel wants to turn even more as opposed to want to go back straight. And so these anti-lift kits are really popular back in the day, just to give a little bit more negative caster. When you do this, they come with this here, plus somewhere over here, a bag of bolts. Yeah, there they are down there. And little spacers that will space. There's a big U-frame bracket here that goes underneath the car, and that will space that whole ring down a little bit to make room for everything being a little bit lower. So we'll get that put back on as well. On the hubs, let's go over here and take a look. So I've done the rear hubs. The front hubs are kind of next up to be done. And these are the hubs. When they came off the car, they were black and very corroded and rusty. And so I sandblasted them, or bead blasted them, and then painted it with an enamel high temperature paint. That'll keep it from rusting. And so this one, for instance, is ready to have the bearings pressed back in. On these front hubs, the bearing is pressed in from the back, and there's a little lip down there that stops the bearing. So once you press the bearing in, there's a little lock ring. You can see the hole right there. You put a lock ring in, and then there's a seal that goes on the back side, and a seal that goes on the front side. And then you press in the actual hub itself. And so that gets pressed in to the inner race of the bearing. Make sure when you do that, you're supporting the inner race from the back side, otherwise you just push it straight out. These are the original hubs, which I also sandblasted and cleaned up, removed all the rust, and then put a rust prevention paint on it, along with new ARP studs that are a little longer. So we'll get this bearing pressed in here and pushed back in. If you, I think the bearings are in the freezer right now. If you freeze the bearings, it helps it go in just a little bit easier. You can heat the housing too a little bit if you want to. It's not super hard to do. I'll do a little filming of that when I get to that. But then we'll have new bearings and some new bushings and all the suspension parts. The suspension itself, it had the stock struts on it, but I had these teen coilovers that were on the car at one point. And so I've been slowly taking them apart just to clean them and make sure that they're all sort of in functional order, put a little lubrication on the threads and everything. And so the rear ones are on, and I'm doing the front ones right now. So we'll get that sort of cleaned up and back on the car. And then, then we should be able to get the front suspension reassembled and start getting all the engine components put back together. There's still a bunch of other engine components over here that need some attention. I think that turbo housing, the turbine housing, it's a VF39, is cracked. So I may need to address that. And just a lot of cleanup, a lot of small parts to do. So we'll probably have at least maybe one more video where we look at the rest of the assembly of the car. And then one thing that's going to be cool is that once I get it assembled and running, that I'm going to do a series on building a calibration, an ECU calibration for this car, starting from the stock calibration. And that's it's a good car to learn a little bit on, because the ECU for this car is really, really well understood. It's effectively fully reverse engineered. In fact, the actual code is pretty easy to look at and understand how it works. Its NOT control system is pretty easy to understand. And so it's actually a kind of a neat platform to start with a stock file and then go through the process of modifying that for the changes that are done to the car and for doing some calibration. And so we'll do a whole series on starting with the stock configuration and sort of how the different variables, math, airflow, fueling and timing, how all of that works, and how we can calibrate it to make it run well and make some decent power. This configuration is not going to make tons of power. I mean, maybe 300 horsepower, something like that. But it'll be fun to do. And if you're interested in learning a little bit about starting out and doing engine calibration, it'll be a neat way to kind of look at how that works. So that'll be coming up soon. I will try to get the rest of the suspension back together here, and we'll get it down on the ground and driving around.